Elon Musk and Doge dealt a major legal blow over their bid to take over the U.S. Institute of Peace. The Institute is an independent nonprofit group founded by Congress to resolve violent conflicts. Now, a federal judge ruled just yesterday that the Trump administration didn't have the authority to fire its employees, and that changes at the Institute were, quote, effectuated by illegitimately installed leaders and must therefore be declared null and void. Now, this ruling after a dramatic standoff in March where, you might recall, the Institute's acting president declared Doge had broken into their building before carrying out mass layoffs. For more on this, let's bring in George Foote, outside general counsel for the U.S. Institute of Peace. He has worked with the agency for more than 3 decades. George, thanks for taking the time. This is a big...
Love to know how much that guy's getting paid as the top legal advisor for the Institute of Peace. Again, I haven't done much research on them. I don't know what they do. I did hear that when Doge went into the Institute of Peace, that they had quite a large number of firearms in there, which is kind of interesting. But let's see what their legal counsel has to say, who I'm sure is very well funded off of the taxpayers' back.
Victory for you and your team. What did you make of the judge's ruling?
Oh, we were delighted. It was a good decision. It was long, well-reasoned, and upheld every claim that we made in the case, that the USIP is not part of the executive branch and that the president had no authority to do what he did.
For people who aren't familiar with the U.S. Institute of Peace, can you explain what it does and the impact of its work getting halted this spring?
It does so much. It was created about 40 years ago to be a think tank and to help the United States figure out ways to prevent conflict, to mitigate conflict.
Doing a great job, I have to say, doing a bang-up job, especially recently.
Once they got started, and to stop them and to keep them starting again. Since that time, its work has expanded around the world. They've worked in every conflict zone you can imagine since the 1980s and have added a lot to America's soft power and to save lives of our soldiers and our civilians all over the world.
The U.S. Institute of Peace has effectively now been shut down since March. Are your clients concerned that they may not be able to rebuild what they once were?
Oh, a blow, of course, but the culture of the place is intact. The staff is leaning forward. They're ready to go back to work. All of the top management is standing by, ready to move back into the building. The board is ready to get back to work. It'll take a while. There's been a lot of damage done, and a lot of the farm programs are in ashes, and there'll have to be some reconstruction. But no, they'll get back to work. This is a dedicated bunch.
It's like you have something like this. What is a measure of success? Right? You would think that the United States Institute of Peace, what is your measure of success? What have you done in the past 40 years? Because I am no historian. I am no scholar, worldly scholar. But I do detect that there hasn't been much of the P word in recent memory in the past few decades. So like when you have an organization like this that you're throwing millions and millions of dollars into, how do you determine success? And if there is no determination of success, then you really shouldn't have the institution. The whole purpose of formulating an institution, an organization, or whatever it is, there has to be a goal. And I'm assuming that their goal is peace. And I don't think they've done it. So maybe it's time to dissolve them, send those people back out into the world, and maybe they can institute peace elsewhere for, non-tax-paying funded peace or whatever it is. It's unbelievable.
And yet the White House is signaling this isn't the end of the line for them legally, and they plan to continue to fighting. The White House saying this in response to the judge's ruling yesterday. The United States Institute of Peace has existed for 40 years on a $50 million annual budget, but failed to deliver peace. President Trump is right to reduce failed, useless entities like USIP, adding this rogue judge's attempt to impede on the separation of powers will not be the last say on the matter. What's your reaction to that?
The government certainly has a right to appeal. We haven't heard whether they're going to do that or what they will do. But the folks at the Institute of Peace know that peace is a process, that it's going to take a long time to solve any given conflict, and there'll always be a new one. So they're ready to keep working.
That's pretty great, right? You're never out of work in the Institute of Peace, right? You're always trying to make peace, even though it's not very peace. What does this even mean? $50 million annually for what? What are we getting out of this? It's just a slush fund. It's so apparent. and they're caught out there. And thankfully, the government is absolutely going to appeal this, I'm sure, because it's going to be a cascading effect. If you can't go in there and mitigate these things and get a handle on these budgets and the monies that are just flowing out of the federal government, then what the hell's the point of elections then? What are we doing here? If we can't knock these things down, like something like this, that is absolutely, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, then what are we doing?
And effective in many they have worked. And that $50 million, it represents less than 1/2% of the defense budget. And they make it go a long way, and they do an awful lot of peace building with that.
Peace is a process. George Foote, thank you very much for joining us.
Peace is a process. Also, subscribing is a process. If you could do that, it would really help me out. Yeah, peace is a process. The Institute of Peace. I just want the receipts. What have you done? Can you show me one thing? Can you show me one conflict? Even small one. I'll take it, right? And I'm sure as their top lawyer or counsel or whatever it is, right? I'm sure you can probably produce like a bullet point presentation of saying, here's what we've done. The problem is they've been talking about this entity now for quite a while. When I did the video on Doge, they discussed the Institute of Peace and how they went in there and how they had guns and stuff like that. And they were talking about the fraud and waste that was going on in the institution. I'm sure at this point, by now, this has been going on for months. Somebody could have actually said, here's what we've done, and gone on MSNBC and shown that. Right? Here's what we saved. Here's who we saved. Here's how we saved them. Here are our I don't know, our institutions of peace that we've spurred throughout the something. You give me something. You haven't given anything, because there is nothing. And it's blatantly apparent in this segment. He easily could have said, without the Institute of Peace, we wouldn't have had peace in blah, and thrown that out there. And everyone could have looked it up and said, oh, did they make peace in this area? No. Do you know why he didn't do that? Because it was never done. This has never been done. They haven't instituted peace anywhere. This is a frustrating one. Hopefully they appeal this and they can shut that place down and save the taxpayers some money. Guys, if you can, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. If you give a comment, I will answer it. If you have a question, I'll answer that too. If you just disagree, I love having discussions down in the comments. We do it all the time. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, share, subscribe. We will see you again on the next video. Thanks a lot.